What up, all? Stay for this one. We got some next level stuff going on. If you agree, like, subscribe, comment, thumbs up, all those things that no one does, but you should do. Okay, or just watch the video for more than 2 seconds, right? That would work also. Okay, first one. The first one's the easiest one of all of them. I think they get more exciting as we go along. This one right here, we're in round number 10. We had Brian Robinson Jr. fall to us a little bit here, and we got an interesting situation. We got Patrick Mahomes in week 6 by, and we also have a chance to get Waddle with a 6 paired up with Tua Tagovailoa, who also is a week 6 by. So if it happens, we're gonna have some fun stuff going on as we go through this draft. If it doesn't happen, that's okay as well. We got a Cleveland stack that I think we can build up instead. So, anyways, we're gonna take Brian Robinson Jr. with this pick. It's gonna give us a third running back. It's gonna be nice to pair with Jonathan Brooks so that we got Brian Robinson Jr. running the show to start the season. Then we got Jonathan Brooks hopefully coming on strong afterwards. Um, we can do this partially because the guy that took Tyreek Hill with the number 2 pick already has 2 QBs in Lamar Jackson and Jordan Love. He should not be taking a third QB. If he does, I think he's basically giving up on the season with what else he has. If I'm not mistaken, well, I could be wrong, but that's what I think would probably be happening. And then I got other options too if he does take them. We got the team in the third pick, right after me here. He's got Jaden Daniels already, and he's got nothing correlating with Miami. And then the team that's in the number 1 spot, they have Brock Purdy and nothing that's correlating either. One of the nice things about Miami is that there's not many people that have targets at this point in time. So theoretically, Tua should be a competition mainly between the Waddle owner and the um, Tyreek Hill owner. Sometimes maybe you think the Achan owner could potentially go after him. He didn't do it in this case, though. He was a couple of picks before this one. So we're gonna go and take Brian Robinson here, and that's the nice about that is going to give us again those 3 running backs um, that will hopefully drive some running back results. And then ideally Tua falls to us. If he doesn't, not the end of the world. We got to figure out the rest of the draft. After that, though, of course, if he doesn't fall, we got to figure it out anyways. Either way, if Tua does drop to us, then we get him. Then we probably got to build out a third stack. Most likely, it'll be a Carolina thing since we already got 2 players on that team. But we will see. Okay, Brian Robinson is going into the next one. We got an interesting one here. We have something that actually kind of worked out a little bit. We reached on Zay Flowers in the 3rd round. We reached on him hoping that we could stack him with Lamar Jackson in the 4th. And Lamar Jackson came back to us. We were looking at the board. We thought that this was probably one of the better chances for it to actually happen. And it did. The interesting thing, maybe the unfortunate thing, maybe not, but the unfortunate thing is that there's some other ADP value also that we're passing up by taking Lamar Jackson here. Michael Pittman, who usually goes at 37, is here at 44. Tank Dell, who usually goes at 41, is here at 44. And George Pickens, who usually goes at 42 and a half, is here at 44. And Lamar Jackson has an ADP of 44. So we're basically getting Lamar at cost to stack up with Zay Flowers. Now, I was thinking about going and taking Tank Dell here instead because Houston plays Baltimore in week 17. And so it'd be a nice bring back. And you're like, ooh, Tank Dell's got a better ADP than Lamar Jackson. Why don't we go and take Tank Dell here? And then we can either get Lamar Jackson or Stroud on the way back. Well, the problem with that is that I think Lamar's most likely not going to make their way back to 53, maybe, but probably not. And there's already a lot of teams stacked up with Zay and Tank Dell, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't played in the back of the board as much as the front of the board. And so I probably don't get to see this, or at least I'm not like focused on it, right? Because it's on the other side of the board. But if you look at just the draft ADP of all the players that are in wide receiver, you can see that Zay's ADP is 39.5 and Tank Dell's is 41.5. And so basically 39.5 is towards um, the beginning of the fourth round, and Tank Dell 41 is also beginning of the fourth round. I gotta imagine there's a lot of people that are bumping up Zay just a little bit and then going Zay and Tank Dell and then hoping Stroud gets to them on the way back in the fifth. And Stroud's ADP actually tells you that it happens a decent amount. His ADP, Stroud's ADP is 57. And so that 57 gets you most of the way into the fifth round. So that tells me that when I do play the back of the board, I might, and if things are kind of just falling away where I'm not really digging it, I might be looking at Zay again. If the board lines up right, and I think it's a good chance to get Stroud coming back, so you have like a Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, Stroud build. But what we're going for here is a Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews build, which I think is probably a little more rare. For it to work, you got to take Zay well before, most likely, you got to take Zay well before ADP. Then you got to hope that Lamar makes it to ADP. And then you got to hope that Mark Andrews makes it to ADP, depending on where you take Zay Flowers. The good news here is that 2 out of the 3 legs are going to be done once we click it. And the 4th leg has a good shot of happening because there are still, let's see here, based on ADP. Oh, there's only one more. Oh, there's only one. I thought there's 2 tight ends left. There's Dalton Kincaid still on the board, who's got a higher ADP. And ideally, the only team that really wants to take a tight end here is literally one team, hopefully, that wants to take a tight end here. And if that's the case, then we'll be in good shape. Now, if, of course, we're sweating it the whole way, though. But we're hoping that this goes through and we get the Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews thing. And it'll be the first time that we've made it happen. And we'll be happy about it. And we'll be happy about it because we started with Jamar Chase, who dropped 1 pick, and then we took Jalen Waddle, I think, a little early. So I think the Chase Waddle is probably not unique. But if we can pair that with Flowers, Lamar, Mark Andrews, that's got to be a little unique, right? Hopefully. We're going Lamar here, and we're crossing fingers that Mark Andrews makes it all the way around. Okay, taken to the next level again here, I think, in this one. This draft we have not looked at recently, but this is the one where we had a bunch of people dropping to us. Jefferson went 2 picks past ADP in the first round. Then Drake London went like 2 picks past ADP in the second round. Then Neighbors, I think, was basically at ADP. Kelsey was still available. We passed on him and took Neighbors instead. Then Pittman went slightly past ADP. We just took Pittman. And then we were hoping that Richardson would fall to us. But this play is maybe more interesting as we go through it. Richardson didn't fall to us. We just took another wide receiver in McLaurin, who I think fell past ADP as well. And luckily, Pitts got to us, and so that paired Pitts in London. So definitely looking for the Atlanta stack to get built up with Cousins as we go along. Hopefully we can make that happen. But this is an interesting play right here. It's interesting because if we look at ADP, we got a bunch of running backs. We got Dak Prescott, who's slightly past ADP, Kyler Murray, who's coming up, Jake Ferguson. So we got Jake Ferguson. We don't really have anything that super correlates, basically. Minnesota plays Green Bay, and we could do, or is he taking this one already? Let's see, yeah. Minnesota plays Green Bay, and the top two receivers for Green Bay were already taken, which okay, yeah, we had all these players queued up, and they just went one after another. We had Walker, Jones, McConkey, Watson, Worthy, Odunze. I think even Connor and Kittle queued up as well, and it's just like boom, 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 one after another. We're taken. I don't know if Connor was one we queued up. We had a lot of people queued up, and they just all were dropping like flies. We have no one queued up anymore. And so we got two choices. One choice, and I think the most obvious choice would just be like, okay, let's just take the first running back, one of these two running backs that are off the board. And then because we don't have running backs. And I think a lot of people would do that. Another option would be to say, oh, let's get the best quarterback available, whether it's Dak Prescott and hope that Ferguson falls to us, or take Kyler Murray. He's the mobile quarterback. So, and he's got more players later on maybe that you can take. So it's easier to stack a little bit more with meaningful players if Ferguson doesn't fall for Dak. So take Kyler Murray. I think those are your main options right here of what you might want to do. You could also say, like, I think Jacksonville plays Indianapolis, and Arizona does play someone as well. Who does Arizona play? Who does Arizona play? Arizona plays plays the Rams, and okay, yeah, I don't have any Rams on this one, so that wouldn't really be in there. So there's a lot of options, but we're not going to go with any of those. Like I said, we're going next level here. When we look at our team, we already have our first tight end, and if we look at the rest of this, we don't see any fantastic pairings. I don't think for an obvious second tight end. As I'm saying that, I'm thinking of one other one. Nope, it's not there. Okay, so basically, Minnesota doesn't have. I'm not counting Hawkinson as an obvious tight end here. I'm not going to really draft him unless he falls well past 80 feet, which is not. So nothing there in Minnesota. New York Giants have two tight ends that are end of the draft. Not really going to set us up for a nice two tight end build. Michael Pittman and the Colts have Jelani Woods. Again, very end, not set us up for a two tight end build. And then Washington, they're the only ones that maybe in Senate could be considered a very weak two tight end build if you really wanted to. I don't think I'd want it. Overall, I don't know if I want him as part of a two tight end build. And so what we're going to do on this one is we're going to bypass the running backs. We're going to bypass the quarterbacks. And we're going to go and take Jake Ferguson here. When we take Jake Ferguson, we're benefiting in two ways. One, we're locking up our tight ends. So we're basically trying to not make a mistake with all the value we got early on in this draft. So we're locking up our tight ends. We're not risking it by taking like a Dak Prescott. And then if Jake Ferguson doesn't fall, we feel like we got ripped off. So we're not risking a stack because of it. And we're also dissuading other people from taking Dak Prescott. Now, we've seen plenty of crazy things. My guess is someone takes Dak. One of these next four teams do. But if we look at them, they probably shouldn't. Three of them already have QBs. And the one that doesn't have a QB already has 3 running backs. You could tell me this guy's probably not that big of a thinking player. He's already got 3 running backs. And so I can't really rely on him to make the smart choice. I've learned that in other drafts. I'm being more and more aware of that. Like, when can I assume they're going to make the right play for themselves versus when they're not going to? So I can't assume they're going to make the right play here. In fact, that's why I assume I'm going into this thinking Dak's probably going to get taken. But if he doesn't, he gets back to me if we dodge this guy here. I'm hoping that he sees Kyler Murray there also, and he goes, "Oh, I like Kyler Murray more because he's more of the running quarterback." So he makes that assumption, and I could see that play working out. I don't think Dak for him is the right play at all. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it is. I think the better play is to go and take Dak if I was him. If you wanted a quarterback, I probably wouldn't take quarterback at all. But if I was, that's the one that I would take. Would be um, Kyler Murray, not Dak. So we're going to take Ferguson on this one. It's going to shirk our tight ends. We can ignore tight end for the rest of this draft, and we're either going to end up with a Dallas stack that we can continue to build out with some sweet running back value as well, hopefully. Or if we don't get it, we'll look at some of our other stacks and see what makes their way to us, if any of them. Maybe it'll be an ugly 3-headed monster. Who knows? But we're gonna start here with Jake Ferguson and go from there. I'm really hoping that he falls. That would be sweet to get Dak on this team and build out that way. Okay, Jake Ferguson. It is. Tell me why that was a bad pick. It's just slightly before ADP, so I think it's a good pick. Last draft here, there's Mark Andrews getting taken at 54. So it's possible for Mark Andrews to get to 53. That's where I need to get in the other draft. Let's hope it happens in the draft that I'm actually in. This is another next level thing we got going on here, if I'm not mistaken. So this one actually has Patrick Mahomes falling, and this happens sometimes where he falls to like 55 or 56 or 54 or something like that. Now, I've taken Patrick Mahomes in this situation twice, I think. And both times I missed out on Ray Rice on the way back, and I was lucky enough to get Xavier Worthy in the next round. So I missed out on. I took Patrick Mahomes in the 5th. I missed out on Rashee Rice in the 6th, but I got Xavier Worthy in the 7th. Now, the problem is that Ray Rice is driving up a little bit, which makes me regret not taking him in a couple of cases where I probably should have. You know, shame on me, I guess. So the problem here is that if I take Patrick Mahomes with this pick, there's a good chance that where's Rashee Rice? Let's go to. There's a good chance that Rashee Rice doesn't make it back to me. His ADP is 65. I picked 66 in the next round. There's a chance, but it's not a great chance. And then if I miss out on him, I either need to take Xavier Worthy well before his ADP, or I risk missing him with the 78th pick because his ADP is, or sorry, the 79th pick because his ADP is 79. I don't think I like that bet when I have a Detroit, a Ram, and a Jaguar on my team, and I can build out other stacks if I need to. And I feel like the risk is not worth the reward here of doing that. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to hope the rest of the teams think the same thing. And I'm going to hope that I take Hollywood right here. So no one can take Hollywood in the 5th round. If no one takes Hollywood in the 5th round, I'm hoping that Rashee Rice makes it to the 6th round. And if Rashee Rice makes it to the 6th round, that means that no one is stacking Patrick Mahomes, which means there's a chance he falls to me all the way in the 6th. Chances of that happening, slim. But if it's going to happen, this is the draft that's going to happen in, considering The team at the 12 spot has Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers. So we're going to see if we can get a interesting Hollywood Patrick Mahomes combo on this team. If that happens, then we're kind of in a sweet spot as far as how we want to build out we're in a really sweet spot, if you ask me, as far as how we want to build out the rest of the draft. We'll have 4 wide receivers, a top end running back, and a top end QB. And a lot of it came at a little bit of value on most of them came at a little bit of value throughout the draft. This Hollywood pick's going to be at basically, I think it's basically at ADP. No, slightly after ADP by a pick and a half, pick 1.7. So closer to two pick value or so, 1.5, 2 pick value. Okay, we're going to go Hollywood in this one. And we're going to be crossing fingers that we end up with a Patrick Mahomes stack with Hollywood. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. We got some options, I think, on the way back around, and we'll have a really sweet wide receiver room built out already too, with all those other potential stack options at wide receiver. Okay, Hollywood it is. That's my 4 drafts. Tell me if you think it's next level. And if it was, do all those things we mentioned at the beginning if you haven't done them already. See you on the next one. Peace.